Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled, "Neighbors created an illegal HOA in the neighborhood. I sued everyone. HOA got disbanded." I discovered a few years ago that I lived in a neighborhood full of no good crooks. All of them. I bought my house in my old neighborhood over 30 years ago. Most people have come and gone and I'm the only one left there still. That is when these new folks decided that they thought Drake's Landing needed a homeowners association. For what? I'm not even sure. Probably just to take money from me and those of us who don't care. We don't even have any common areas to keep up to date. No pool, no playground, just nothing. These people thought it would be some great thing to force everyone to sign up for the HOA. Well, I tell you what, I did not sign anything because they cannot make me. As far as I am concerned, they are just trying to pull some controlling power card over all of us, telling us what to do, how tall our grass can be, where we can keep our trash cans, where to park my RV. They can go pound sand, damn it. It took me over a year to sue these idiots. They started sending me citations talking nonsense about how I needed to pay my HOA dues. Well, I don't have any dues because I didn't agree to some no-good HOA. I refused to sign the paperwork when they sent it out the year before. I have lived in my house since 1988 and I did not buy into an HOA and I never agreed to be part of one. Back in the day, this stuff was only voluntary and I could send them money to take care of the sidewalks and the roads if I saw fit. Which I did, sometimes, but it was not some monthly responsibility I was required to do. So I started getting citations and fines and all this BS, saying that I am past due on my HOA dues and whatnot. I was pretty pissed and I maybe did not respond to the first few because of what my wife calls my stubborn as an ass attitude. She is probably right, but in the meantime of not responding, I was searching for an attorney because I knew I was going to need one to fight this. Per my attorney's instructions, I started responding to the letters. I only stated the truth in them, that I'm not part of the HOA as I did not sign the HOA contract the year before when it came around. The response that I got in return to my letter was one that made me even more angry. The HOA stated that the entire neighborhood agreed to it and that it was a majority rule situation. Which is not how this is supposed to work, damn it, I have to agree. At this point I am so pissed that I am willing to sue every single one of my neighbors on top of the stupid HOA, all 113 of them. I told my lawyer that I wanted to pursue suing the neighbors as well, which he explained probably would not benefit me, but I'm a man of principle and decided to see if it worked. What's the worst thing that could happen? The judge denies it? Either way, I still have a great case against the HOA. A few months of stubborn back and forth letters and emails with the HOA had me sick and tired of things. That is when I received a document saying that they were going to put a lien on my home until I paid them the HOA dues. Nowhere on my deed, title or the other paperwork shows that the HOA has any jurisdiction over my home. Plus, I literally own it. How can they even do that? I called my lawyer up in arms about this news and he assured me that my home was safe. I'm the kind of guy that will go out of their way to make a point known. I decided to put some signs up in my yard so everyone can see what I think of this HOA and their sheepy residents. One sign said, "Ban the HOA," and another said, "I deserve property rights." My wife said that I was just poking the bear, but what she didn't realize is that I was the bear. So basically, ripe stars, OP is the one who knocks. Anyway, she did not really like me going to all this trouble and said that the HOA kept the neighborhood looking nicer. But what she did not understand was that it is my home that I own and my right to say that I don't want to buy into an HOA after living here without one for as long as we have. I preferred the old way that was a voluntary system where I could donate money yearly for maintenance and upkeep of some things. This BS they are trying to pull where they act like a landlord or apartment manager is completely overstepping. I did feel a little bad though, because it was extremely awkward for her at her neighborhood card club, so much so that she had actually stopped going. She said that some of the ladies she played with were being rude and ignoring her after everyone got the letter about us suing all of them and the HOA. I told her that they were not her real friends anyway if they were going to treat her like that. My wife is sweet and lovely, and I knew that she would either make new friends or her old friends would get over it eventually. At the end of the day, my case against this HOA was solid. I did not sign anything agreeing to their damn association, and therefore they could not dictate anything to do with my property. Something my lawyer discovered was that the neighborhood is actually built into 3 sections, and each of those sections is controlled by a different governing body, or would be if there was one. Turns out I am in section 3 and the HOA is in section 2, also meaning that they don't have any jurisdiction over my home. That basically was the nail in the coffin for these dummies. By the time my case actually saw court, it felt like forever. It was almost a year after I started the process of my lawsuit against them and my neighbors in Drake's Landing. We had kept the information about the sections dividing the neighborhood, so when that finally came out, the judge just looked at them with an expression of, well, you're screwed, which they were. The judge said that my case against the 130 neighbors was going to be handled in a different manner than the lawsuit against the HOA. She said that it would be difficult to pursue and essentially said that I should drop it and take what I can get out of my case against the association. I was okay with that in the end and really felt satisfied that maybe I managed to rattle a few cages at least. Judge took a few moments to look everything over again, making a face and shaking her head the entire time. That is when she brought up the section divide in the neighborhood, asking them if they knew anything about it. Apparently they did not realize it, or at least they chose to play dumb in the courtroom. She told them that just with that document alone, they had lost their case. It was an easy and obvious ruling after that, leading to her telling them to pay all of the lawyer and court fees on top of what I asked for and more. I ended up walking out of there with them owing me almost $25,000. It just felt great. Nothing ended up coming from me suing my neighbors, however, I think they got my point. I took my signs down and continued to keep my property looking nice and presentable. After all, I love my home and I was never the kind of old man that let his grass grow waist high or leave old junky cars everywhere to begin with. It's true that some properties look crappy and run down when you don't have an HOA to micromanage everyone, but my point was that they cannot go around doing what they want, especially when they have no legal leg to stand on. I will happily donate money every year to a voluntary HOA if they ever choose to start one. And yeah, ripe stars, I actually sort of enjoy the concept of an HOA where you can voluntarily pay money and participate. Does not seem like the worst thing in the world. Either way, I'm really happy for OP that things turned out the way they did. However, I gotta say, I would also not really want to be in OP's position because I'm not sure how many friends he still has left in the neighborhood. But then again, if most of these people were sort of HOA lovers that like to micromanage others, then maybe that is not such a bad thing. The next one is titled Supervisor Gets Uno Reverse Card. I work in a union manufacturing facility. This week my line has been running like absolute poop. Maintenance has been working on it basically around the clock as we continue to run and scrap material that does not meet spec. Today the line is pretty much back on track, and what does management decide to do? Order us to jack up the speed to make up for lost production. The problem being that these lines notoriously run really bad when you speed them up beyond a certain point, so I'm still looking product due to being out of spec or other quality related issues. My supervisor comes out fuming, yelling about still losing product, asking why and so on. I try to explain what is happening and he cuts me off, threatening me with a write-up if I don't start sending product. Luckily, we have this nice little form that effectively places all responsibility of sent product on the supervisor. I get a copy, he gets a copy, plant manager gets a copy, union steward gets a copy, and one goes into my personal folder. He was not very happy when I told him I will gladly send whatever he wants as soon as we fill out that form. And then he backed down. I thought you guys would enjoy the story, thankful for my union. That surely would have ended with my ass getting fired today otherwise. Edit, just wanted to say thanks for all the support and conversations. This happened very early on in my shift today and I still had the rest of my shift to work. It quickly became impossible to respond to everyone. I think we can all agree on one thing, union strong. And Ripe Stars, if you have watched until here and enjoy these stories, then please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support my channel. Thank you so much in advance, your help is very much appreciated. And the next one is titled The Ultimate Retail Revenge. I am a 24-year-old girl working at a large home improvement retailer as a contractor sales associate. I am lucky enough to have my parents pay for law school and I work retail to pay for other expenses. I am well trained and customers enjoy seeing me at the desk since I am easier to work with than some of the guys and their egos. I was working a busy Saturday in the summer and customers tend to just leave carts with lumber and large merchandise laying around. I have made it a habit to leave sticky notes with times on the carts so I can keep track of how long they have been there so I can put the merchandise back. I had tagged a cart of lumber at the start of my shift and when I got back from lunch 3 hours later, the cart was still there with the original sticky tag and merchandise. Assuming it was abandoned, I put the merchandise back. An hour later, a customer approached me ranting that someone put his cart back. I apologized profusely, explaining that it had been left for so long that I thought it was abandoned. The response that followed was beyond rude. The customer proceeded to swear, degrade and rant about how terrible I was. Rattled, I called my manager and asked him to come down. The customer proceeded to call me every rude name under the sun and left when some of the guys on the floor came over to see what was going on. I was in tears when my manager came over. I worked the next Sunday morning and lo and behold, the same customer was my first of the day. I immediately called management and they came over to cash him through while I got a look at his truck which advertised a small window company. I told my parents immediately and they assured me it would be okay. My parents asked me when I was working next and we did not mention the incident for a week. A week and a half after the incident, I pulled into my driveway and was shocked to see that same van that my customer from hell drove. I walked inside my house and saw my parents sitting at the table with the customer from hell. He had brochures and a quote set up to replace the windows in our large old home. My mom called for me to come into the living room and the man looked up at me, not recognized me at first. My mom turns to the man and says in her sweetest voice, "This is my daughter, but I believe you have already met her." The customer looked confused and apologized for not recognizing me. My dad smiles at him and says, "She works at my store." The look on the man's face when he realized who I was cannot be described as anything less than perfect. My parents thanked him for coming and for the quote but told him they were not going to go ahead with his company. He apologized profusely as he left my house, minus a huge sale. I think that he may have learned a valuable lesson about karma and treating other people, including retail workers, with respect. And Ripe Stars, if you have any good, interesting stories about karma, not only about retail but pretty much anything, then please feel free to share them either in the comments or on r/Ripe Stories on Reddit, which is our own subreddit, where you can post your own stories and there is a good chance that I will read them in a video. And the next one is titled, "I'm sorry sir, we cannot accept Canadian currency." I dragged myself out of bed today for a short 4-hour shift. Apparently my supervisor attempted to call me for an 8-hour shift, but my phone was on silent. I'm usually hungry for hours, but I can sometimes brush that off if the store is too busy. Today is one of those days. It is supposed to snow 5 to 7 inches. It is the second first of the month. We had the standard bread and milk rush along with the big game rush that seems to sell lots of wings and chips. I get to the register to discover that I had been sent le registre terrible, both my hand scanner, as I'm not allowed to refer to as a scan gun, and my second belt were not working. This obviously slows down my ability to move customers out by eons. I use both of these as essential tools of my trade. I was crushed to find this being the case, since it was one of the busiest rushes since the holiday season. My first few customers went by quick, small orders. The fourth customer obviously had a handicap. From my experience, it seemed to be Parkinson's. The guy was shaking and was struggling to get his cards out of his wallet. He was struggling to type his PIN number for his debit card. I tried to help out as much as I could. As I am helping this customer as much as I can, I hear snide remarks on how somebody was holding up the line. The comments were coming from someone we will call Selfish A-hole, or SA for short. The struggling gentleman heard these remarks and started rushing. Social pressure is strong in my small town. We finally get the struggling gentleman on his way after much effort. He was nice as can be, no problems, he just struggled. Any decent human being would notice this and calm their tits. SA is not a decent human being though. I process SA's transaction as quickly as possible, massive line behind him. I had that inner, I am pissed, but kept as calm as a Hindu cow on the surface. We finish his short transaction. Sir, would you like to use your XYZ rewards card? Will it save me anything? Whatever. SA hands the OP the card. Alright sir, your total will be $20.03. He proceeds with a surprised face as he did not expect his total to add up above $20. He hands me the $20 and looks through his seemingly empty wallet for change. He hands me a Canadian nickel. I usually wouldn't do this, but he was a jerk. I'll usually take a Canadian penny or two. I'm sorry sir, we cannot accept Canadian currency. Oh yes you do, here take it. I'm sorry sir, we only accept US Treasury notes and coins. The whole time I am keeping a straight face, but my heart is full of petty revenge at this moment. He pouts and grabs a bag of chips from his grocery bag and tells me to take it off. I give him his change out of $20 and bask in the glory of defeating evil as a cashier. And the last one is titled Goof Off at Work and I'll make sure that people notice you. Background: I own and operate my own retail store. It is actually a seasonal fireworks tent, but not like any fireworks tent you have seen before. It is 2,400 square feet of firework heaven, where the party and the insanity climax at midnight on the 4th of July and New Year's Eve. Story: we have a very laid-back work atmosphere at my fireworks store and we encourage all of the employees to have a good time at work. Lately though, it seems like some employees have focused too much on having a good time. A lot of things are not getting done and stupid mistakes are being made. Employees showing up late for work, not helping customers, and mispricing items are definitely all on the rise. I love having a good time at work, but it is still a place of business and there are certain things that have to be done. Now onto the petty revenge. All of my employees wear fluorescent safety green shirts with the company name and logo. Sunday I picked up 2 fluorescent orange mesh safety vests, and if you screw up, you get to wear a safety vest over your shirt. The terrible combination can be seen from a mile away through a fog at night by a blind man. It is almost enough to make your eyes bleed. Welcome to the jungle. And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel, but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support and I hope to see you again tomorrow.